The ruins of Asteron 9 stretched before me like the skeleton of a dead giant. Crumbling towers reached into a dust-filled sky, their jagged edges sharp as broken teeth. My boots crunched on glass and fractured steel, every step echoing through the hollow silence of the once bustling colony. I hadn't come here to sightsee. The corporation had sent me, Elias Rain, scavenger and former soldier, to dig through the wreckage for anything of value. Technology, energy cores, medical supplies. Anything not burned out in the orbital bombardment that had reduced Asteron 9 to ash. The pay was decent, but the job came with whispers. Strange movements in the shadows, voices in the night, survivors who shouldn't exist after 2 years of silence. I'd laughed off the rumors. Until I heard it. Voice. Weak. Pleading. Please. I froze, my rifle tightening in my grip. My helmet sensors flickered, scanning for movement. Dust swept across the street, hiding everything in a pale haze. Then I heard it again, closer this time and desperate. "I begging you." I followed the sound through the wreckage, pushing aside slabs of collapsed ferrocrete. Beneath a collapsed transit beam, half buried in rubble, was a figure. Woman. Her skin was pale, almost luminous beneath the grime, and her eyes, large, iridescent silver, snapped open when I approached. She wasn't human. Her features were too sharp, her limbs too elongated, her breath too ragged with a faint whistle through gill-like slits at her neck. She was alien, and not just any alien. She was one of them. The Kareth. The species that had led the assault on Asteron 9. The reason the colony had burned. My instincts screamed to walk away. Maybe even put a bullet between her eyes for good measure. But something about the way her hands trembled as she tried to claw free from the rubble stopped me. She wasn't a warrior. She was broken, helpless. "Please," she whispered again, voice hoarse. "I begging you a help." I should have left her, but my hand moved before my head could stop it. I set the rifle down, shoved the debris aside, and pulled her up from the wreckage. And when she stood, barely supported by my arms, I was stunned. Not by her alien features or her silver gaze, but by the collar around her neck. A slave collar. The Kareth were never slaves. They were conquerors. The middle, secrets in the ruins. I dragged her to what had once been a transit station, walls still intact enough to keep the wind at bay. I set her down on a cracked bench and pulled a ration from my pack. She watched it with wide, hungry eyes, though she hesitated before reaching for it, as if unsure if I meant it for her. When she finally ate, she devoured it in seconds. "You're supposed to be dead," I muttered, watching her carefully. She looked at me, and for the first time words came more steadily, though still broken. "Not dead. Hunted. Escaped." I frowned. "Escaped. From what?" Her hand lifted weakly to the collar at her throat. Up close, I could see it was scorched and sparking, broken but still partially active. Human design. My gut twisted. "You were enslaved. By us." Her silver eyes burned with a mix of shame and fury. "Not you. Your people. After war. Took Kareth for labor. Experiments. I run." The thought made me sick. The war had ended years ago, and everyone believed the Kareth had pulled back to their own territory. But here was proof some had been captured, hidden away, used as test subjects or slaves. And now one sat before me. "What's your name?" I asked cautiously. She hesitated, then whispered, "Serenia." That night, while the dust storms howled outside, Serenia told me fragments of her story. She had been captured in the aftermath of the Asteron 9 bombardment, forced into a human black site facility. The experiments, the cruelty, she spoke little of it, but the scars across her skin told enough. She had escaped during a riot inside the facility, fleeing into the ruins, surviving on scraps and hiding from patrols. Her people weren't hunting her. Humans were. And now, by helping her, I had become their enemy too. Rising conflict. The next morning I found tracks outside the station. Boot prints. Fresh. The corporation had dispatched a recovery team. Not for salvage. For her. Serenia's eyes widened when I told her. They find me, they kill you too. I cursed under my breath. My contract hadn't mentioned anything like this. If they found me with her, they wouldn't care that I was just a scavenger. They'd silence us both. We need to move, I said. For days, we navigated the ruins together. She was weak but resilient. At night, by the glow of my camp stove, she spoke of her world. Crystal seas, spire-like cities, skies alive with songbirds that shimmered like flame. There was longing in her voice, and grief too. And to my own surprise, I found myself answering. I told her about my home, a backwater mining colony swallowed by corporate greed. I told her why I'd fought in the war, and why I'd walked away from it. In those quiet moments, alien and human, we weren't enemies. We were just two survivors clinging to the fragments of hope. But hope doesn't last long in ruins. The recovery team cornered us in the shattered husk of the central plaza. Drones buzzed overhead, searchlights cutting through the storm. I shoved Serenia into cover and raised my rifle. "Elias Rain!" A voice boomed through an amplifier. "Step aside. Hand over the fugitive asset, and you walk away alive." I glanced at Serenia. She was trembling, but her gaze locked with mine, steady and defiant. "Please," she whispered. "Do not give me." I didn't. The fight was chaos. Drones swooped down, spraying gunfire. I shot 2 from the sky before diving for cover. Serenia, though weak, grabbed a shattered pipe and swung it at a soldier who closed in, knocking him flat. Together we fought like cornered animals. But they had numbers, armor, training, and we were losing. Then Serenia screamed, her collar sparking wildly. A pulse of silver light burst from her body, hurling soldiers backward. I stared in shock. What the hell was that? She gasped, collapsing against me. Energy, my kind's gift. Collar suppressed. But broken now. The recovery team regrouped, shouting orders. We were out of time. I dragged her into the subway tunnels, gunfire echoing behind us. We ran through darkness until at last silence returned. In the pitch black, I felt her hand grasp mine. Trembling. Warm. "You save me," she whispered. "Guess I did." My voice was rough. "Now we need to get you off-world." The ending, a choice. We reached the old spaceport at dawn. Most ships were destroyed husks, but one shuttle lay intact beneath a collapsed hangar. With a little jury-rigging it could fly. While I worked, Serenia watched me, her silver eyes softer now. "Why?" she finally asked. "Why you help me?" "Enemy." Paused, then met her gaze. "Because you begged. Because when I pulled you from that rubble, I realized you weren't my enemy. You were just someone who needed saving. And I couldn't walk away." For a long moment she was silent. Then she placed her hand over mine, trembling but firm. "Then I owe life to you." The shuttle roared to life, engines sputtering but steady. We boarded, leaving Asteron 9 and its ghosts behind. As the stars stretched out before us, Serenia leaned back in her seat, eyes closing in relief. I didn't know where this journey would take us, whether her people would accept me, or if humanity would brand me a traitor.